And we're live. I'm here with my friend Mike. So I'm super excited for this conversation. We're talking about something that's very near and dear to my heart, life beyond the label. And it's a conversation with Mike Meyer. Welcome, everybody, to this Divergent Discussion. My name is Carla Pretorius. I'm a registered psychotherapist. I'm also the clinical lead at Kaboose and a PhD researcher. Kaboose is for neurodivergent people like ourselves and the organizations and communities around us. Kaboose is the platform that bridges the gap between lived experience and everyday reality through community built by people who get it, truly get it because they're neurodivergent themselves, and the practical guides designed to actually help wherever life may take you. This is just a reminder that this Divergent Discussion is being recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel with all of our other beautiful guests that we spoke with. We'll also have time at the end for audience questions, so please feel free to just pop them in the chat and then we'll get to those. Mike, I'm going to do your bio and I'm probably going to make a mistake here and there, so please just fix it for me, okay?
Sure thing.
Thank you. So Mike Meyer is the founder of M31 and author of Weird is the New Normal, The Unlikely Path of Leadership. With over 30 years of experience in technology, business, and leadership, Mike champions what he calls digital at heart leadership, helping people stay human in an increasingly digital world. A proud neurodivergent thinker, Mike is an ADHD, has OCD and chronic health conditions that helped shape his resilience, creativity, and empathy. And I know, Mike, you're going to maybe add to that a little bit, just explaining your diagnosis once I'm finished with the bio. Through his work, writing, and speaking, he encourages others to embrace their uniqueness and turn lived experience into insight and strength. When he's not working, Mike can be found volunteering as a motorsport chaplain. What is that?
A pastor in motorsport doing personal well-being care.
That's amazing. I didn't know you do this. That's awesome. I wanted to ask about your diagnoses. We mentioned a few, but can you explain some of the other conditions or profiles that you've kind of seen popping up in your life?
Yeah, so autistic, very much a rule sticker, very much need things in a particular order. Ducks need to be in a row. And I live the paradox of also being ADHD where everything needs to change constantly. And amongst all of that, if that's to add insult to injury, I'm a polymath. And that is just like ADHD on steroids because you become highly skilled in a lot of different domains that are different to each other. So, for example, I'm a competent ballroom dancer and I win medals. I'm a musician. I play the drums. I do the construction in the tiny home. I'm also a fabricator. I build rally cars. I'm highly skilled in electronics, highly skilled on the IT and technology software programming. I love business inside out, accounting, left and right, you name it. I wear so many different hats. And being an ADHDer just goes curiosity max, all the things all the time. At the same time, I've had a lot of medical things to deal with in life. So I've had spinal cord injuries, spinal cord surgery over the years, and I have to manage that on a day-to-day basis. Chronic pain, that is part of all of that. I've got something called dysautonomia. And this relates to my autism a great deal because it's a condition where your conscious and unconscious nervous systems are out of sync with each other. So the difference for me is 250 milliseconds. The biggest impact for me is I stand up and I faint because my conscious body said stand up, but the heart wasn't ready to catch up to it. So my blood pressure falls. With that, I've got a new condition that's been coming on, which is to do with my fatigue management. The doctors have actually since now discovered that I've got something called reactive hypoglycemia, which is where your average blood sugar level is in a dangerous zone all day, every day. So I'm now having to add a significant approach to the management of that as well. And so you'll see me eating lots of little jelly beans as we go today to keep the blood sugars high, because at the moment, this is a very difficult, rare occurrence. These are the sorts of things that I have to deal with from a day-to-day basis. Yeah. And so it makes for a melting pot of chaos.
Yeah, I can imagine. And it also probably took quite a long time to get everything in the forefront for you to understand what you're going through, because it feels to me like it was a lot of different things that could have been this or that. So it wasn't very precise.
Yeah, I think you kind of build the tenacity to want to find an answer, that constant desire to want to know why. And for myself and my autism, to have the answer to the why, to have the reasoning behind the construction of why things are the way they are, brings a great deal of peace.
That's good. I mean, for me, the same thing with the diagnosis, but we're talking about life beyond the label, right? So this is
Yeah.
actually a very good segue into when you're talking about living the best future version of yourself. What inspired you with all of this that you just learned now from yourself in the last few years or maybe decades even to center the conversation around this idea?
Yeah, I'm fairly fortunate in the sense that I'm 46 now, which means that I was not diagnosed as a child. Being diagnosed is a recent thing for me. At the same time, living the life that I've lived in two worlds at the same time, where I've grown up with a family that is neurodivergent. They didn't know it back then, but many of us grow up in families that are all neurodivergent. So our picture of not normal is just our family, right? So when we start to experience the world, for me, when I started to experience at school, I was just that one that didn't fit in. And the definition of success moving out of high school and into the big wide world to get a job, have a career, meet a girl, get married, get a house never worked. I sort of broke at about 25 trying to figure out what on earth is going on at this point. And by the time I was 25, I'd been fired twice for circumstances that weren't clear to me. The first time I was fired, my boss couldn't even tell me what was wrong. So I made that mistake of trying to improve something I couldn't measure. So he would say, I need you to just improve, Mike. I'm not happy enough. But he couldn't tell me what his inkling or what their issue was. And eventually, after a couple of times where he wasn't happy but couldn't feed that back to me, I'm here in tears being fired, not really knowing why. The second time I got fired was much clearer, and I was given this big story about my struggles to communicate with people. I've always been this kind of tech person. I love computer gaming. And back in the 2000s, how did we computer game? We had big LAN parties, and all of us mates, we all got together in the one room and we're yelling and we're shouting and we're carrying on. I'm socializing fine. At the same time, I was too intense with the ladies. At the time, I didn't know that. Couldn't communicate with the girls. Couldn't have decent relationships. At the same time, you ask me anything, I'll just tell you. That's one of the autistic things. Our ability to filter what isn't appropriate isn't necessarily natural. So I'm like, but how do you solve these things? And that's where that curiosity comes into it, because I can look at something eventually and go, I'm not good at this, or this is just where the standard is, and just sit there and accept it. But if I accept it, what standard or what vision have I got for myself? I've been made this kind of entrepreneurial person that just dreams big dreams with this tenacity. I'm not willing to accept that. So what do? Problem solve. What's the hurdle? Is it worth it?
Yeah.
Work it out. That's been a really big theme for my whole life. And then when it came time when I did finally get a diagnosis, it was more like, yeah, okay, whatevers, because I'd been leaning into my skill the whole time, because we're made in this wonderful way to think differently. And starting in the technology world, it breathed opportunity. It breathed that we're changing the world. It breathed that there's this thing happening in society and culture that I want to be a part of and help people with, because it's so hard to understand. So many people struggle. So I started there. And today I just built a career that's built around tech. Am I a techie? Well, not really. I'm just an opportunistic entrepreneur. And the reason I talk so much about leadership is because we often make the mistake of going, management is leadership. But leadership is looking at that big picture for our lives, resourcing it and setting ourselves sail and heading that direction. Whereas management is all about just the now and the tomorrow. How do we deal with the now? How do we deal tomorrow? We often try to mash them all together and get confused. Or to that end, we say leadership means having to deal with people. I deal with people from so many different walks of life now. I still have in so many different ways things that people say to me and it just misses me. And I've got no idea what you're saying or why you said it that. But it doesn't stop me saying, you just said that. I'm not entirely sure I've understood what you're just saying there. Does it mean this? And I'll just say, oh, no, that wasn't what I was trying to say, Mike. And they'll correct me, because that's how you solve that problem. Gain clarity.
I really like the difference between the management and leadership. I think that's important for all of us to note, is that with leadership, you don't have to, like you said, be with people. You can think of the bigger picture. You can problem solve. You can find different ways. And that's where our brains are really excelling. I want to actually just jump into our second question here, which is about other people. So when you think about the best future version of ourselves or yourself or the people that are listening, what do you hope that people feel inspired to believe is possible for their own lives? What do you hope for them?
To start to become comfortable in our own unique skin, because I think many of us, when we look at the world and we're somehow meant to meet someone else's standard or someone else's expectation. And there's lots of reasons our society and culture does that. Let's not go down that rabbit hole right now. I can probably do a series of lectures on that particular wicket. But if we're comfortable in our own skin, just as who we are and how we've been made, whatever your point of view is, then nothing outside ourselves can really truly influence that in the same sense. So if we look at ourselves and go, I'm me, no one else. And there's no one else like you, Carla. There's no one else like Michelle. That also tells me that I need to get to know you too and work with you and be a part of your worlds as well. And that means that you're going to see things differently. You'll have a different point of view to something. The English language is the worst bastardization of language ever because everything has so much meaning. And how difficult is it to simply say, there, which one? And we can actually work together in those differences and learn each other's different worlds. And this is the mistake that I think we make is go, isn't that just masking, Mike? No, that's me meeting someone else where they're at so that they can experience me.
Yeah. I really like also just the fact that you said, understand that your unique skin is the one that you need to love. I always feel awkward in my own skin. I feel like, how do I stand? So I have to constantly tell myself, just be okay with whatever you do. And then I relax and things become a little bit easier. But if that pressure is there of what are they doing? How are they saying it? When are they laughing? How many times are they speaking or interjecting or bringing up new topics and all of the spirals start, then I kind of lose it. So I think it's really important to just go with your skin and how you feel. And then your body will relax and your nervous system will hopefully feel that relaxation too. What advice would you give somebody who wants to embrace their neurodivergent identity without letting it become the limit of what's possible for them?
One of the big challenges that we have is that we like to label everything. And it's helpful to a point because it only takes us so far. And if we stop at that point, what could be past it? Labels are great for helping describe ideas. They are great for being able to go, oh, there might be some reasons for different things. But they stop us at the same time because the label is insufficient. You can't get that level of certainty. That's just not real. So to say that I'm autistic isn't real either, because in neurocomplexity, there's not enough to say that. When we look at the certainty of everything, we just can't actually be that certain. Law of large numbers, whatever faith, whatever you'd like to call it, it's mind-boggling. It's just close to impossible, statistically improbable. So it only gets us part of the way then, doesn't it? But what if I want to go past that? Well, that means becoming curious. We go, okay, I've just learned some wonderful things about myself. We've looked at our autism and gone, that explains why I struggle in relationships. That explains it. Notice how I use the word explain? It's not shaping it. It's what I choose to do next. That agency of self that goes, what am I going to do next? Where am I going to start heading towards? And what decisions and choices will I make on that path? If it be a straight path or a curvy path, it doesn't really matter. But what will that next choice be? I'm being stuck in my communication. So how do I want to overcome that? Who can I partner with that can teach me that? What YouTube can I look up that can teach me how to overcome that learning skill? What nugget do I need to look up on Kaboose that's going to teach me that next step? And so when you're ready to go, yes, I'm autistic, but I don't accept it as my identity, that's where boldness comes in because it's choosing the next step. And that next step doesn't have to be a leap. You know, boldness comes from taking just the smallest, tiniest moment to choose it for yourself, to just move forward, to not let inertia hold us still, but to push it ever so slightly. There's a wonderful guy called Jim Collins in Business World, and he uses the idea of a flywheel where he goes, if you build a business, the tiniest little pushes over and over and over again eventually start spinning up faster, 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 and keep going. That just makes it easier as time progresses. That's similar here. When we take those tiny little choices to go, I can find a way. I'll take this one first, then that one, then that one. Tiny little pushes on the flywheel, and they get us faster and faster, easier and easier. Step after step after step after step, we get better at it. You know, and it doesn't have to be big glamorous moments. It can be the tiniest little things like dealing with the local council. I had an issue with my shed. They wanted to block out the rules on putting power to my shed. And I just turned around and said to them, have you thought about it like this, or this? What would the regulations say to that? Not just different out of the box thinking. They went, we hadn't thought about that. I said, could I do an isolated power supply to the shed? Would you be happy with that? They said, yep, we're happy to approve that. I called an electrical engineer and they designed an isolated supply. And now my shed's connected to power. But the regulation didn't have to hold me there either, because the world wants to put regulations, different hurdles in front of us in different ways, whether it be our internal hurdles that we create for ourselves or a regulation that goes, I can't have what I want. But what if it just means thinking differently about it or working on it if it's worth working on? We've got great minds. And I look at the world around us and goes, you just don't want us to be great.
Yeah, I think it's the world, but it's also sometimes ourselves. We're holding ourselves back too, a lot of the time.
It can. I've met a lot of people with that. If we ask ourselves the question, if I take this step forward and nothing changes, how bad will that actually be? But if I take that step, how good it could be. Because if the answer is no, I'll be no worse off, and I don't take the step, I'm fighting with myself.
Yeah. I think it's also just to know that there's cost benefit. And unfortunately, we have to put ourselves outside of our comfort zone, not too much. We can always feel safe when we're doing so, but just to kind of push ourselves a little bit outside of our comfort zone.
And it's just a little bit. It's just a little bit. It's not trying to change a complete career overnight or whatever it is.
I think I want to go to the idea of feeling successful, because I think a lot of us, and especially me when I grew up as well, we grow up with this idea of what success looks like or supposed to look like. How can we begin defining success in a way that reflects our own strengths, values, and aspirations?
Each one of us, I think, is going to be really quite different in their space. And that's part of what it is to lean into our unique self. Because if we're not careful, a lot of the world or marketing or business will often project their idea of success. At the surface, it might be more stuff, fancy car, more money, career, fancy job titles, those different things. And okay, for some people, that might be success for them. Yet success might also be just simply going, I couldn't get out of bed today, but tomorrow I did. That is a moment of success right there. We can get ourselves lost thinking these pictures of success are what we should be striving for, when it could be, I love my Lego and I really enjoy doing it. Because when we do that, we're building our motor reflexes and capacity to connect things together and take our brain from something we could visualize and make it come to life in our hands.
We can make friends in that hobby as well.
Yeah, exactly right. Because you can make friends with that. On the global stage, platforms like Kaboose, you're meeting everybody from all over the world that have similar kinds of likes. You can sit there and just info dump.
There's a group for everything.
There is.
It's awesome.
And I remember some people were saying to me once, you're not good at socializing, Mike. And I used to take that pretty hard because I often found that I couldn't join along socially with other things. My ADHD would always go, I need to be doing things all the time. I'd do hobbies on weekends and have fun at night and different things, and didn't realize that other people take life at a slower pace than I do. So that took a long time to learn that other people are different in that way. But at the same time, quite a recent epiphany was that I'm not bad at socializing. I just socialize differently. So the story I shared earlier about the LAN gaming, I realized, hang on a minute, I've been socializing well my entire life. It's just a different group of people. But when I went to the office or getting along with work colleagues, and I'm sitting at the pub on a Friday night, because that's what they all do, I'm sitting there puzzled for the entire night. I got no idea what people are talking about. I'm sitting here and people don't know how to ask me a question, and I don't know how to ask them a question. And for some reason, if I ask something a bit more pointed or direct, they don't really know what to do with that. So I'm literally sitting there having a beer and feeling puzzled the entire time.
Did you read that study about autistic individuals being in a group with neurotypical individuals, and the communication difficulties were very high? And then when they just added autistic individuals in a group without neurotypical individuals, there were no difficulties. So it just shows that if you're surrounded by your people, you're going to be fine. I'll be able to speak to my people because I know that they'll find interest in my interest. I'll find interest in their interest because they're so hyper fixated on it. I actually want to ask the question now. I know that we usually ask questions later, but this is a question that actually goes to one of the previous topics regarding labels. How do we balance being our authentic selves without the label looking like an excuse? I'm doing that because I'm autistic versus this is who I am as a person.
Yeah, this is one of the great things about understanding your label first is really helpful, or understanding a label is very helpful, and helping other people to understand your world. So something that I've learned from myself, and I use this every day, workplaces and the broader community means that our interest groups have to start overlapping with each other, which means to build clarity is kindness between each other. You've got to set up that expectation with people. So earlier this week, someone wanted me to run a 1-hour workshop back to back for the first hour, then repeated an hour after that. And I had to say to them, and I just said it politely, unfortunately, that arrangement isn't going to work for me. I need a 1-hour break between it so that I can recharge and rest, because it will be too much people very quickly and I need the break. I'm sure you can understand that. Can we make another arrangement? And they said, yeah, no problem. We can communicate back to other people when things get difficult. So I've had a situation once where the fluorescent lights in the room were just completely wrong that day. No one else in the entire room could see them flicker or hear the extreme buzzing and pain in my ear that was coming down in that. And I just had to say to the person, listen, I'm really struggling. I know you can't see these lights, but they're hurting me and I'm going to have to leave. But can we please move to a different room? Would that be okay? There was some resistance and pushback. Oh, no, that's not a thing. And I just had to insist again. And they said, fine, okay. They relented. This is back in the 2000s. This was a long time ago, long before some of this stuff was as understood as it is now. But they caved and accepted it. And that was a big moment for them. I didn't even know what autism was in those days. All I knew is this pain was just coming down on me like nothing you wouldn't believe. And I just had to say something because it was that painful.
I think that's important to mention the characteristics that we have as neurodivergent individuals that we feel is incongruent with our body. So I sometimes feel like that feels a bit icky or gross, or that doesn't feel right. Like something is off. And then I just have to mention something doesn't feel right. I need to maybe go to a different room or a different place. Or can you repeat what you said? Can you explain what you said? I think it's also not so much the label, because I think a lot of people, when you say, oh, it's because I'm autistic or because I'm an ADHDer, they might have their set of beliefs. And as soon as we say, well, it's because this is too loud or there are too many questions coming at me at once, then we can say, okay, that's something tangible. And that's something that we can actually change and help you with. That's what I'm getting from the two examples, which I really like.
You're exactly right. The thing is, though, because we work and get along with people, it also means a little bit of compromise too. So we've got to be careful to not just necessarily turn around with such bluntness that says, I just can't do it, I'm walking away. But we can negotiate the situation with ourselves of what might be able to bring it back, what might be able to work for you slightly differently. In that instance that I said, I moved to a different room. I could have turned around and said, you're too all hard to work with, deal with it, I'm autistic, I'm just going to run off. And in some circumstances, that is going to be appropriate. Or I can lead in the situation and go, I want to be here to study and learn and be a part of this class. I need the room to change though. Can you help me do that, please?
Yeah, meeting halfway in the middle. I think that's always the best, because we're needing to put ourselves a little bit outside of our comfort zone and the other person is needing to learn. But it's also about the people that you're speaking with, because some people might not really want to hear. Yeah. Some people might not be open for changing. And then those are the people that we don't want to do workshops for, or that we don't want to be friends with, or that we don't want to be in a relationship with. So it's important to kind of audit and maybe share a little bit and then see, okay, how do they take it? Do they adjust? Do they accommodate? This is actually one of my other questions that I wanted to ask you. How can people distinguish between respecting their own needs and holding themselves back because of fear? Because I think there's a sense of fear as well that I think is quite strong when we want to disclose.
This is where I start to gamify life. I talk about life as an adventure. And this is why I wrote my book the way that I did, because I wanted to tell that Indiana Jones element of standing inside a movie of myself in the third person and go, the boulder is rolling towards me. Am I going to let it squash me, or am I going to get out of the way? Again, this points back to where we head. What do we do for our future? I can watch the movies and watch the excitement, and I can get that taste and that appetite for going, what if I can get to that idol? What if I can get over those pits? What if I could learn how to swing a whip and sail across? It could be me doing that. My identity could be the one. I'm not Indiana Jones' sidekick anymore. What if I was Indiana Jones the whole time?
It's awesome. Also just realizing like your different roles in your own life. I think that's kind of what I do sometimes. Sometimes I want to be the main character and sometimes I just want to be the director. I love gamifying my life.
The great thing about choice and agency is you can choose that. If you
Mhm.
want to be a bystander, be a bystander. You accept that
Mm.
choice for yourself. If
Yeah.
you want to be the hero for that moment. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that. Your own choices are okay. But are your choices honoring yourself?
What about if somebody's listening today and they want some small practical steps that they can take from you towards becoming the best future versions of themselves? What would be a few tangible things, if there are?
There are. The biggest thing that I find really, really helpful in this is to really start working on our skill of reflection and looking at ourselves. We often look at reflection through the eyes of ourselves, almost as if we're in a first person shooter game. So you only see what's in front of you. Yet we're often actually very good at seeing ourselves and the character in the third person as if the camera is up behind us and we can see our character on the sides everywhere. When we start to shift our thought of ourselves from what's in front of us to what else might be there and look at that curiosity and ask ourselves sometimes challenging questions. What if that thing was there? What if I said this instead of that? And writing it down, learning about the psychology of why someone said something.
Yeah.
There's a reason I've learned a lot of human behavior and psychology because I don't know how to do that well.
Yeah, it's a
And so
tricky
in my
thing.
memory palace, I sit there and make a little card catalogue like the old library of all the different things I learn about things. And then I go and find them with keywords and different things along the way. But the most powerful thing that we can do is start to look at who we are and to ask ourselves those questions of what we thought. It might start out as simple, what are 4 great things that happened today? And then do it again tomorrow. And then again. And then again. Or to just turn around and go, someone said this the other day. I'm just going to write it down. This is what I thought about it. Then you might go, I think they said that because of that. I learned this thing. And that now taught me this. But you can't see the resolution in yourself unless you start looking at yourself.
Without judging. I think that's the big thing here as well.
It's definitely about not judging. You're on the mark there. It's something that just improves over time because we have to look at ourselves. You got to look at the truth.
The data.
Yeah, got to look at the data. What are we good at? Look at the data.
Look at the data and then determine if it's something that you're doing because you were told to do it or even you're good at, but you're not enjoying. That's a big one for me, as a lot of people would say,
Yeah.
oh, you're so good at socializing. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't always enjoy it. So I have to really put boundaries up with who do I socialize with and when.
Yeah.
But I think also just to go back into your interest, I'm going back
Yeah.
into going to concerts. And this is how I socialize because it's something I absolutely love. I go there for my favorite shows and then I exit quickly before the last song is played because I don't want the crowds. Why did I have this identity crisis where I was like, I don't want to be this young person anymore? Why not?
I had the most extraordinary conversation with my neurosurgeon. I'm a mountain bike rider from way back. I did my first spinal cord injury when I was 21. And then when I was 41, I had to have the spinal cord surgery itself. And I was expecting by that stage that they would all say to me, you're not allowed to go mountain biking anymore. And I nearly fell off my chair when they said, don't you dare stop mountain biking. I said, what on earth are you talking about? They said, because you have to stay fit. You have to keep the weight off. And if you stop biking, there won't be another sport that you like. They go, you love that stuff, Mike. If we made you to go to the gym instead, you're going to get bored. It's dull. You don't enjoy it. You're not going to look after yourself the same amount, but you love biking. So just don't be a tool. Keep riding.
That was the doctor. That was the surgeon.
I'm like, that's the best complex advice that I think I could give.
Yeah, that's great. They really saw you. They understood. I have another really important question here. How do we deal with other people judging us when it reinforces our own judgments of ourselves?
Yeah, that's a big question. And it's something that needs a lot of self-understanding of your own role to play in this question. And yes, it might mean moving friends. We have to look after ourselves. That's not to say be a narcissist or self-centered. Yet if we're spending time with the wrong people with the wrong mindset, it's going to reinforce bad things.
Yeah.
This happens in my own world all the time. In my business world, it's happened literally over the past 12 months. Since I brought my book out, everybody started to see me do my work a very different kind of way because all of a sudden I'm now on the stage and spending more time with people in a different way than traditional consulting did. They don't know how to deal with that change, even though for me it was a natural change. So I've had to find new customers, new people. I could sit there and try and educate those people. And yes, some people are worth educating. We say sometimes, but they're family. And there's sometimes that uncle that's completely toxic and inappropriate and should be cut off. And there's times where the family, you make the effort. There's friends that we can get along with. They're like two peas in a pod. My best friends are a very far distance away from me. But I can drive 5 hours and spend the weekend with my best mate, Matt. But that's where the quality of the relationship comes into the equation, because we know that we do that with each other and we love it so much. Yet there'll be other relationships where it's kind of like, I'm giving. There has to be a limit at some point. And that's actually emotionally healthy for us to do. And so there are some people, there's times where it has to just be cut. And that's okay. We need to know that it's okay. And so we can go and find new friendship circles, new things. We might have grown past the social group. We need to give ourselves permission in those things. Those things are okay. It's healthy. Like, I get a lot of people sort of say, Mike, you're not autistic. There's no way you're neurodivergent. Look at everything that you do. And then I go into other communities where it's just like, you're so odd, Mike. You're so eccentric and weird, and we don't get you. You wear the old man hat and a nerd shirt and the coat.
Oh, I like your hat and your shirt.
Love my hat. It is the coolest thing around. I love my hat. And so I find myself 1 foot in each of those worlds, and I've had to learn both together. Yeah. And then I take advantage of that knowledge to then navigate the two sides together and who's in those different worlds. So when someone then comes to me and says, everyone's a little autistic, I'm like, I'll just let them leave it there and I'll just keep talking something else, because I can explain it to them, but the fact that they said it also tells me that they're going to be uninterested in hearing why it's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing that I do sometimes, and a lot of my clients would do, just like feeling how your nervous system feels when you're with somebody, especially with the people with alexithymia, people that struggle to label their emotions. They might really struggle with like, but is this person making me anxious? I don't know. I really ask them to go within their bodies and feel, how am I feeling? Like, am I feeling like sweaty? Am I pushing myself more? Am I like really like scrunched up? And then realize, okay, wait, maybe this person's not making me feel as comfortable as I thought. And that could be a friend, a colleague, a family member. I think that's good to listen to our bodies too.
It absolutely is. I use a lot of the grounding exercises, like the 5 things exercise a great deal. My wedding ring is a fidget ring.
Nice. That's so cool.
I use timers. I've got a Rubik's Cube I keep on my desk, all kinds of different fidgets and things to play with all the time. You create in your own world what works for you, right? Because we're all so different, you find the things, you reflect and find those things that are going to work for you.
I wanted to ask you one quick question, and then I want to just ask the audience something. But if you could encourage every neurodivergent person with one message about their future, what would it be? If there's just one message that you could say.
It's really become a catchphrase. What decision or thought are you going to entertain right now that's going to set yourself up for the best version of your future self?
Nice. I love that. Quick and easy, to the point.
It hurts sometimes, I will be honest, and because life's hard. And sometimes things that are worth doing are hard.
Yeah, true. Okay, I'm going to thank you for your time and all your amazing nuggets. You also have quite a few neuro nuggets in Kaboose, yes, which I would highly recommend people to go and check out. This is just a reminder to our audience members that we have a range of these divergent discussions, but also neuro nuggets in Kaboose. You can find all of the details in our app, Kaboose app, as well as our newly launched neuro nuggets. Like I said, these are our short practical guides that help you understand how your brain works and find ways that make work and life easier. They're also for workplaces to help create more inclusive spaces created by neurodivergent people that have lived experiences. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
And if you're in Kaboose, come and join my group, Leadership and Living Boldly with Mike. Come and say good day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks so much, everyone.